Hello everyone and welcome back to a totally normal podcast about films, Atom Path, where we have a very interesting occasion today. It is, as of the day of this video going up, it will have been the 100th anniversary of... Would you consider it a cult movie? I'd consider this a cult movie. Yeah, of the cult classic Nosferatu, aka Dracula. It is the oldest surviving Dracula movie. It wasn't the first, I think it was the second. There is an earlier Dracula that is lost from Hungary. But that doesn't exist anymore. So it's Germany's illegitimate Dracula. That's the first.
Yeah.
It released March 4th, 1922. I am, of course, the lovely Claire, and I am joined by my co-host,
Leon.
And we are pretending that The Muppets Christmas Carol is not a lost episode.
I'm so saddened that this is a lost episode.
I'm really sad about it. We'll go back and review it another time.
Yeah, but now it's part of the internet lost media iceberg.
Yeah. If I ever become a big YouTuber, I can put it on an iceberg.
Yeah. The lost episode.
Okay,
maybe the best we ever recorded.
Yeah. First things first. God, this movie, I feel like we shouldn't even start off with is this movie recommended? This movie's recommended just off the fact of it's a historically important movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's the original silent Dracula. But what do you think of the movie?
Well, I really like it because you could say that it is the first horror movie ever created, or the first horror movie that is still available today.
Yes, I think that's a better way of putting it because I think there was in 1915 The Golem, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
it is the father of. It's one of the fathers of horror, of play with Caligari.
Yeah, I think The Golem is made by. It was written by the same guy who wrote this one. I'm not entirely sure.
I quite like this movie. It's not my favourite silent movie, but it has this really good vibe to it. It's got this really fascinating vibe, and it's fascinating because, and we'll get into this a bit later, it's a German expressionist film, but it's kind of not at the same time.
Oh, just to add, it is written by the same guy who wrote The Golem.
It is.
I just checked.
Okay, yeah. This was F.W. Murnau was the director, one of the most legendary directors of the silent era. And this was a German silent movie, and the Blu-ray release I had actually had the original German intertitles with English subtitles. And
that's interesting.
Sorry, what did you just say?
That's interesting that it's like that.
I think it's because it's the Masters of Cinema release, and they're very much one of the people that's you should watch it the original way.
Yeah.
It's got a little booklet here, with just a basic history, and at the end it literally says, set up your TV like this. Don't have it be widescreen, it will look bad.
Yeah.
Something I just wanted to point out is that a lot of the this is sadly the case with silent movies. The original master cut is long gone. Long gone.
Yeah, they even tried to destroy it after a copyright strike.
Yes.
As YouTubers would say.
Yeah, we can get into that shortly after this.
Yeah.
And fortunately through tapes that were released to foreign markets and different cinemas and collectors, this movie has made its way back into the public.
Yeah.
I find this interesting. The intertitles that didn't survive in the German version were hand recreated.
Yes.
And they actually went and sourced like possible sources, people who might have worked on it, and like did it in the same style. And I think I couldn't even tell which ones were original, which ones weren't. Which I think they did a fantastic job. And so I watched this with historians' commentary for like because it was my second viewing, and they pointed out like some stuff, like there's a scene a bit later where they're just playing some sports in the garden, and like that's a scene that was very well, as in when I say recently, this film's 100 years old. Recent is a bit of a
stretch.
Yeah, it's a bit of a stretch, but like that's a scene that was recently re-added to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, shall we before we go into the plot, should we go into the controversy? Because there's a bit of a debate of whether this film should really exist, isn't there?
Probably, yeah.
Because so Bram Stoker, when did he pass away?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I could Google it while you continue to talk.
Okay. So Bram Stoker... Sorry, I've got a can of Tango. Bram Stoker had passed away.
In 1912.
1912.
So 10 years earlier.
I knew it was later than I thought. And at the time, his widows and the estate still held the rights to the book.
Yeah.
It didn't enter the public domain until many years later. However, F.W. Murnau and the publishing company did not have the budget to get the rights to Dracula. So they just made it anyway. Which is... Considering Bram Stoker's widow was also not well off, kind of scummy, but also it's a really good movie.
Yeah, but at the same time, they couldn't afford it because it was shortly after World War One.
Yes.
Well, let's say...
shit, no, you're right. Germany just... Yeah, no, you're right, because...
Let's say Germany wasn't... in its best form back then.
Yeah, Germany was injured.
Yeah, I wonder how they even managed to make movies back then.
Yeah, it's actually quite impressive. But if anything, maybe that minimalism did well, because like something I noticed, I didn't notice until the commentary pointed out. There's not a single made set; it's all on location.
Yeah.
That's why I hesitate to say it's a German expressionist movie.
Yeah. But the sets the sets, the locations they've chosen, they look really good.
Yeah, the nature, how they film at like certain angles, the reliance on arches. The use of shadow, it's all very effective. And we'll be getting more into detail with this later, but all very effective.
Yes.
So yeah, this film did always become lost because it was ordered to be destroyed. And like they did try to be subtle about it in Germany. To give them credit, they renamed all the characters. Dracula became Count Orlok. However, when they brought it over to English, they really weren't subtle. They just called him Dracula. It's like, God, no wonder she found out.
Well
done, guys. Yeah, that's something. He's called Count Orlok. He's not actually called Nosferatu.
No, Nosferatu. The name is. I think it's Romanian, and it's called. So it means vampire.
Before we kind of get into like the plot of the movie, I feel like, and this is something I was always going to bring up, right? I became aware of this movie probably before I even became aware that silent films were a thing. Because of that one episode of SpongeBob SquarePants. So yeah, there's a very famous episode of SpongeBob SquarePants where it's a slasher parody, and it's awesome. But at the end, it's revealed that Nosferatu the vampire has been the one flicking on the lights, and they actually show the famous archway scene. That scared me as a child. Utterly terrified me as a child. Because he's just a fucking creepy vampire guy.
But he smiles.
He smiles, yeah. No, I think
I
now
don't
I'm
even
like,
understand what's going. What?
Now I've watched the movie, he doesn't scare me.
Yeah. I think.
What was you gonna say?
I think it's interesting that they used this thing in a children television show, because I assume no child knows who Nosferatu is.
It's such an obscure reference. They actually bring him back in a later episode, apparently.
Oh, I didn't know.
Apparently he's actually an employee at the Krusty Krab.
What?
Yeah, so I guess after the movie he went and got work under the sea. Before one final thing before we actually get into the plot. If you're interested in this movie but you just can't fucking sit through a silent film, there is a remake which is very well praised, and there's what I can only describe as a companion movie called Shadow of the Vampire.
The remake is also made by a German.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's by Werner Herzog. I think I told you about him.
Oh, yes, you did. You did. Sorry, that's come back.
He's the guy who did Grizzly Man, the documentary about the guy who was sadly eaten by a grizzly.
Yeah, so it's quite sad. Vampires! So, yeah, the companion movie is about them making it, but if they actually hired a real vampire as Orlok.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we've got to talk about Orlok. Because he's such a unique depiction of Dracula. Because, like, when you think of Dracula, you think of... There's two images that spring to your mind. There's the Lugosian, slick back hair, suave man.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And then you've got kind of that more, like, Mr. Burns-esque creepy old dude. With big
he
white
looks
hair.
He looks kind of like Caligari.
Yes! Very
more
Caligari.
Caligari looks like him. It was Nosferatu, later then Caligari, right?
Yes. But then you've got Orlok. And Orlok he's bold, he's spindly, he seems more demonic.
And his eyebrows.
He does have good eyebrow game.
Yeah, his eyebrow game is strong.
And, like, the commentary I was watching made a fantastic point. I will have to remember to, like, link, put in the description which commentary I watched. I think it was the 2007 one on the DVD I have.
Mm-hmm.
And, basically, they made a point of, if you think about Dracula, he's a character who, it's implied that he's been, resting and sleeping for centuries. He's not going to look clean and, stuff. He's going to look grimy and, mouldy. He's a corpse.
They captured it really well in this one.
Yes. Which is incredible, considering they completely ignore half the Dracula mythos. He can't turn into a bat. He can't turn into mist or a wolf. There is nothing to do with steaks or garlic. He has a reflection. He has a shadow. The only thing he seems to be okay with is sunlight.
Does he have a reflection? I don't remember that he reflects.
He might not. I don't.
Yeah, because
I don't
I don't remember any instance in this film where where was a mirror or where he could have been reflected in the water.
I might have been misremembering then. But he definitely has a shadow.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, the shadows are incredible. Shall we actually get into the plot now?
Yeah, I think we can do a short summary because most people probably know the story of Dracula.
Yeah. It's probably best to we get a summary and just kind of elaborate more on the changes to Dracula. Because it's... The best way to describe this is a footnote version of Dracula. This film is much more interested in being visually interesting than retelling the story.
Yes.
And Dracula's a hard story to retell because it's such a weird book.
Did you ever read the book?
I've read bits. I own the book.
Oh.
But it's told across diary entries and articles. So every movie kind of does its own thing.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm going to be referring to them by their actual book names. Because, like, Jonathan Harker is Jonathan Hutter. You know. But, like, I'm just going to call them by their book names. Except probably Orlok.
It's Thomas Hutter in
Oh, it's
Nosferatu.
Thomas Hutter.
Yeah.
Like,
because Germans don't use the name Jonathan. It would have been
the very German
Jonathan.
name of John.
Jonathan.
Yes, okay, so so basically the premise is Harker has this like lovely life. He's got this, you know, very sweet romantic relationship with, you know, with his lover. And it's this very idyllic opening scene. The Blu-ray I had this really nice orchestral score. But like, this lovely springtime music. And like, it's all sweet. And he has been sent to Transylvania to make a deal with the mysterious Dracula because he wants to buy some property in wherever the hell they happen to be.
Risberg. It is in Nosferatu. I don't know if it's in the original.
I don't actually know where it is in the original. And he goes there, and I mean, every Dracula adaptation does this. He goes to the town, he says the name, everyone's shocked and surprised. Then he catches a coach, but the coach won't go any further. And he is picked up by a dark, mysterious coach, who is, of course, Dracula.
Yeah.
And I like this. I like this scene because there's this very good, like, one, it's so obviously him. It's so obviously him. But, you know, like, they reach the castle and they use this kind of almost like sped up motion effect. With the carriage. I don't know how to describe it, but like, the carriage moves so much faster than everything else in the movie. It's actually quite interesting. It looks a little bit like stop motion, but it's not.
Yeah, maybe they cut out some frames.
Yeah, maybe to make it look a bit more like, you know, a bit more unnatural.
Weird, unnatural.
Yeah. So they reach the castle and the coach goes away and he enters the castle and Dracula is there. Which again, that's a cool thing. And they've got this whole motif of archways going on. The castle's entrance is an archway. There's the iconic door shot we can go into later.
Yeah, I heard that many people who interpret or analyze the movie, they say that it's like a spider's web, you know?
Ooh.
That's an interesting interpretation I heard.
It's definitely symbolic of Dracula. Like, it all seems to be associated with him.
Yeah.
And there's a really good juxtaposition between, you know, the very jovial, light-hearted place, you know, where he is from, where he's all, like, snugly, you know, with his lover and stuff.
Smiling all the time.
And then at the castle, and I know it's a silent movie, so it is quiet, but you can tell that there is silence, there is tension.
It's a big castle, and they are only those two men.
Yeah. And he starts to pick up signs up. There might be a vampire going on, because Orlok has a weird reaction when he cuts his thumb.
A weird reaction? He wants to suck his thumb.
Yeah, well, it's not even subtle. The man's like, ooh, lunch. gotta love Dracula.
Classic.
And there's, of course, the scene where he is in bed and Dracula comes for him to feed.
Yeah, just a short little question, because you watched it yesterday or the day before yesterday?
I watched it a couple of days ago.
Okay. And for me, it's a little bit longer ago. When did he find the book? The book about Nosferatu.
Oh, yeah, because he gets it. I believe he gets it when he's staying at the village.
Yeah, I think he reads about it beforehand, and that's why he grows suspicious, because I think at first he doesn't really believe it, and maybe it's a work of fiction or something, but then he
seems unconvinced by the townspeople.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that's a good point, because that's a really clever way of incorporating the book's weird nature by actually having, instead of the intertitle just being, like, aha, I said. Actually being like, book pages, letters. It's quite effective, actually.
Yeah.
So and Dracula comes in, and this is, the iconic SpongeBob shot. It's one of the greatest shots in all cinema. He creeps in through the doorway, and it's just big enough to fit him. And there's something unsettling about that shot. It's not scary, it's just creepy. And I like that shot. It's not my favourite shot in the movie, but it's up there.
Yeah, I think it's just amazing to the posture of Max Schreck, the guy who plays Dracula, or Graf Orlok. Count Orlok in English, sorry. I think how he's standing there, he has his shoulders always all the way up,
Yeah.
And his arms, they hang straight down, but it's not like hanging, it's like he has to... it's hard to describe. He's stretching them all the way down, and his fingers spread.
He looms. He has a very looming presence, I feel.
Yeah, and his eyes, it looks like he doesn't have pupils in some of the shots. Like he has just... when you're in a late night drive and you see a deer, and the eyes reflect only the light.
Oh, yeah.
That's what his eyes looks like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. Yeah, he is fantastic, and like, there is also the scene, I can't remember if this happened before or after, but I think this happened after, because like, at this point he's like, oh god, he is a vampire, oh no, I've just sold him a house. Yeah. And there's again the scene of he puts coffins on the coach, gets in the last coffin, and the coach rides itself away. And again, it has that very like, what I imagine they did was they just like, they just moved the carriage bit by bit. But it does have that ghostly presence. I think it's a very effective, way of doing it, showing that, oh, his carriage is haunted. Then as it goes on, we kind of get this, like... You see, they kind of incorporate other elements from the book. Like, they incorporate the character of Renfield, the guy that goes insane.
Yeah.
Kinda. He just kind of shows up and he's creepy. He's creepy, he's in an asylum, he eats flies, he wants blood.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He's just kind of in the movie. And surprisingly, so is Van Helsing. You know, the kind of, almost the main one of the main characters of the book. You know, one of the most iconic parts of vampire mythos.
Hmm.
Van Helsing just is. He's there. Doesn't really do much.
Is he called Van Helsing?
I don't actually know what he's even called in this movie. That's how insignificant he is. He actually does nothing.
Well, he stands there.
He does stand there.
He watched the final moments of our characters.
Oh yeah, he does. Compared to the 1931 film where he's just in the action, he's analysing everything. He's the one who kills Dracula.
Spoiler.
In Dracula's Daughter, apparently he killed Dracula in like a London street and immediately got arrested for it. Dracula's Daughter's a weird movie. And it's quite instead of him, like, we kind of get more of a focus on the other characters, and I know this is weird to say, but there's almost a more feministness to this movie, because ultimately it is, her name fucking escapes me. I'm googling this.
Ellen in this version.
Yes. She actually actually outsmarts Dracula at the end. She basically tricks him into coming up, and like for some reason she just knows that he's after her.
Yes.
And it ultimately becomes his undoing because he takes so long doing it, the sunlight comes up and he dies. Obviously, we jumped ahead a bit.
We did, but I think it has to do something with this mythos that a woman could stop the Black Death, the plague.
Yeah.
And in my eyes, Count Orlok is kind of like the pest, the plague. Sorry, I used the German word.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I completely see that because I don't apologize for using the German word. This is a German movie.
Yeah, it's hard.
Your brain, you must be going mad. You're just like, wait, which language?
It's easier when we talk about English movies because then it's a little bit more natural to say the English words.
I think it's quite I think I'm with you because like, as Orlok comes, a plague does start to spread.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the intertitles, because there's a bit where Orlok attacks on a boat. It's a lot of iconic shots there, like the hatch opening on its own, he creeps out, him standing by the sails. He just kills everyone on the boat.
And how he gets out of his coffin is really great.
Yes.
I wonder how they did that. Did the historians say anything about it?
I don't think they did. I imagine it was a very similar thing to what they did with the carriage. I imagine they probably almost stop motioned it.
How he stood up?
Yeah, I imagine they did something similar. Or maybe they cut away frames,
Yeah.
Maybe they recorded with a slightly longer reel for that scene, cut off the frames they didn't need, so that it still was however frames per second. He gets up. That's an iconic shot too. And even on the boat, it's this boat of death. There's a bit where they throw a man overboard who's died of the plague. I agree with you. He is symbolic of the plague, and apparently that's a recurring theme in Murnauer's movies. Apparently there is some kind of plague going on.
Yeah, the plague thing, he uses it as a metaphor for war. Because on the German side, after the war, it wasn't because Germany was the loser of those wars.
Yes.
Gladly. there wasn't anything heroic about it. Even though England probably suffered the same amount of casualties, I think it's kind of, it's hard to say it like this, but it's kind of easier to accept those casualties if you go out victorious,
No, I'm with you. I mean, I'm a history student, and there's a saying, history is written by the victors.
Yeah.
Okay, look at America. America talks about war. What wars do they talk about? They talk about their victory in World War II. They're, saving our asses in World War One. You know what they don't talk about? Vietnam. Yeah.
Or about other things that could maybe be counted as genocide, but let's not.
Yeah,
anger.
But no, it's that kind of that it's that thing of like war. I mean, war is terrible. We're not going to go into I don't think we should go too much into it, but like I agree with you that because Germany lost, and I find it amazing, like as we were saying earlier, that like Germany managed to create such an incredible film industry in the between war years.
Yeah. There's a saying that if there wasn't a World War II, we could have become like what Hollywood is today.
Oh,
no.
Could you? Because because there's like.
Because
in my mind, there's big centrals of filmmaking. There's Hollywood, there's Bollywood.
Yeah.
So you said that maybe like Berlin could have been a big center of film.
Yes, it could have been, because German movies were very popular in the world back then.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
And
just to be blunt.
And World War II kind of destroyed the film industry in Germany. Like there were German films during World War II, but it was mostly propaganda,
Yes, I remember. I think it was a Family Guy joke, and it was like a film studio, post World War II, and they were like, okay, let's get back to making comedy movies like we used to. Get me these directors. And he's like, so I don't think we'll be getting them. Oh, get me my agent. He's not available. It's like, what happened? Oh, I remember what happened.
Yeah.
It's like, I imagine, like, it is so weird because it is like, it's in that very weird mid period. Especially the 20, because the 1922, it had just ended.
Yeah.
I imagine many of the people in this movie had probably fought in it. But I agree with you. I can imagine. I think, I think like there is this element of plague and war. And if I'm not mistaken, the Spanish flu was going around as well.
It could be. I think it was. Yeah.
I don't know if that hit Germany, but like I know that was going around someplace in the world.
Sadly, I'm not that well versed in.
You don't know everything about your country, Leon. I don't fucking. The only reason I know who the English kings and queens are is because of a horrible history song. But yeah, so plot continues, and it's kind of just what you'd expect now, like they kind of gloss over Dracula making his way, and like having his killing spree, He gets there, they kind of realise, oh crap, Dracula's here, and
well, he slowly decimates the number of people in the town.
Oh yeah, but it's less of an emphasis.
You see coffins be carried around the town.
Yeah. Like, there are people dying, there is this plague. It's almost implied that, is he causing the plague, or is he the plague?
Yeah.
And they're instantly like it, and she's like, the girl's like, okay, you guys look over there and look pretty, and she distracts him. She brings him in, and as I mentioned, the sun rises.
She's like, I single-handedly end this man's career.
Yeah, she just takes him out. She's just, and he disintegrates, dead. And it's actually quite an effective ending. Like, he fades away, and there's like this big puff of smoke, and
A little bit of fire effects.
yeah, and it's like a very because like he has had some fading before, but like the smoke definitely signifies that no, he's dead. He's dead, and it's quite a just a good ending, like. And
It's a tragic ending because she dies. Hello?
Why is cinema so depressing?
I was like, what's going on? Why is she so silent now?
Death. I mean, it's not. I mean, like, I know like films of this era have abrupt endings, but it's not as abrupt as like. Some of the Universal monster movies, like, well, we've killed the monster. Credits show up. It's like, oh, okay.
Well, Van Helsing, the guy who's Van Helsing, he looks into the room and is like, well, the guy is dead. My job here is done.
Yeah.
And they're like, but you didn't do anything. And then the end credits roll.
Yeah, it's like, didn't I? Fades away. Yes. So, yeah, the best character in this movie is, of course, Van Helsing, who contributes a grand total of fucking nothing. And that's Nosferatu. I mean, I'm going to be blunt here. If you want to watch a Dracula movie adaptation, because you want to watch a Dracula movie, maybe not this one. This is a great movie, but there are better Dracula movies, you know. But this is a fascinating, this is like this is a fascinating silent movie, and
it's a lesson in history, in film history.
Yeah, it's like I've got a good comparison here. I for Christmas got the 1920s Phantom of the Opera, which is a very similar movie. And yes, if I want to watch the Phantom of the Opera to enjoy the story, I mean, even though I do quite like that movie actually, quite like it a lot. But I'm probably going to watch the Andrew Lloyd Webber version.
It has more music.
It does, but the silent version's interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way. I think that's quite kind of almost like the key word for this movie. It's interesting. I think everyone wants you to give it a shot once. I mean, it's public domain. It's free. You can watch it on Wikipedia, for God's sake.
It's free real estate.
Yeah, free real estate. Obviously, like if you're into film preservation, I've been gassing up the Masters of Cinema version. That one comes to like a documentary as well. So yeah, like, because like with silent movies, obviously a lot of them are public domain, but like if you do quite like them, there is no harm getting the Blu-ray, like a Blu-ray or DVD version, because you're only but just make sure you're getting it off, someone who's like a preservation, like someone like Eureka or the BFI, because that money will then go towards them preserving other movies.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably get it for cheap off, those 50 horror movie collections they used to do. Have you ever encountered any of them? Where it's like a box set of public domain movies.
Which ones are there?
Oh, like, so it's like they pop up in the world, like they're like you'll probably find them in mildly shady shops. They're just like box sets of like movies that were in the public domain. Like Night of the Living Dead pops up on it a lot because that is a public domain movie.
Oh yeah, I see.
It's free real estate for people who want to sell DVDs.
Mm.
And just to remind everyone, Dracula is the public domain. You can use Dracula for anything. Make Dracula kills Winnie the Pooh. Don't do that. Winnie the Pooh's a sweetheart.
If you're a dentist, use him in your commercials.
Yes. And if you're not a dentist, use it anyway.
Use him in your commercials. What we are trying to say, use him in your commercials.
Yes. This podcast is sponsored by Dracula. So I'm going to ask, because this is one of those movies where I can't think of a favourite scene. So what's your favourite shot?
My favourite shot is the one where we see the shadow, how he opens the door.
That is a good shot. That is a very effective shot.
Everybody who saw the movie or who saw some clips, it is often used in clips of this movie, knows what I'm talking about.
Yes. Mine is very similar.
Mm-hmm.
When he's going up the stairs and it's his shadow, you just see the shadow creeping.
Oh, nice.
And it's so effective. And I could see that actually scaring some people back in the day. Similar with the door. And I love this movie's use of shadow.
Oh, yeah. And the one where he looks out of the bottom of the ship.
That is a good shot. I actually kind of think that shot's a little funny, actually. He
Really?
just pokes his head out like,
because
hi.
Well, I think it depends on the context. I think back then it was really scary, and I can imagine it being scary if I saw a figure like that looking out of the ship where many men died before.
Yeah. Oh, no, I am with you. But,
But I know that you've got a cold heart and don't care for all those dead people.
No, because that episode didn't happen, okay? I didn't say my awful thing about Tiny Tim. I
basically, as a rehash of the Lost Christmas episode, Claire thinks Tiny Tim should have died.
That's not really what I said.
Because she hates children.
Yeah, you can't make up things.
No, I don't. It's a lost episode. I'm just telling the truth.
The actual context is I find the way Michael Caine says "not Tiny Tim" to be rather funny.
Yeah, she laughs at dead children. That's what I'm trying to say.
No. Okay. Torturing me aside. Yeah, I think this film is like a film of like very iconic shots. I mean, the door, the stairs, the boat, the whole fucking boat scene.
Oh, I love the boat scene. I think the boat stuff is the one I like most about this.
Yeah, the boat's got some really good stuff in it.
Because it's kind of comical when he arrives in this town and when he carries around his little coffin.
Yeah, he just has coffins.
It's not... Yeah. He has his coffin tucked under his arm and just runs around.
One of my favourite things, honestly, about Dracula's mythos is the fact that he technically needs to carry around Transylvanian soil with him, which is such a stupidly specific thing he has to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think... Overall, I think, like, there's just so much, like... Yeah, this is a movie of great shots. I wouldn't say it's a movie of amazing scenes, but, like, that's just because there's not many that jump to my mind, you know? It's like, there's nothing wrong with any of the scenes, but there's nothing, you know, it's like, oh, yeah, there's that scene. It's like, shall we go into, like, the kind of, the expressionism bit of this? So, as I mentioned before, this movie was rather under-budgeted. There were no built sets. Absolutely zero. It was all on location. Yet in spite of that, they managed to make this an expressionist movie. There's, you know, the things like high desks and chairs. There's that thing of, like, things.
The whole look of Dracula.
Yeah, Dracula looks and walks very not the way you'd think. As I said, like with the door scene where he's like very straight, perfectly straight, it seems almost it seems unnatural.
All his movements seem unnatural.
Yeah, like the way they handle certain shots, it's like they without having to build sets like Caligari, because Caligari is a massive expressionist film, but also is a massively setted movie.
Hmm.
And this movie didn't have that luxury. But it also has some utterly beautiful nature shots juxtaposing with some, very tense and creepy inside shots. And, there's this great shot where the carriage crosses over a bridge, and the bridge is, like, even though it's quite stable, it's out it zooms out, the camera is at such an angle where you can see the bridge, the bridge shake from the carriage. This film knows how to make the most of nothing. And I think that's something that, like, I've always respected about, like, more independent horror, is their ability to make it work. It's why I'm not a fan of, like, I'm not a big fan of, like, horror movies that try to be bad and end up just shit. Basically, anything made by Charles Band, the guy behind, like, the Puppet Master, the Evil Bong, and the Gingerhead Man. Because those aren't scary movies, and they're not trying to be scary movies. I mean, okay, Puppet Master tries, but they're not trying to be scary, They're just bad. But, like, at least, Nosferatu, they had nothing, and they made it work. And they made a tense movie, and, like, it still has a lot of the silent things that people appreciate, like the hand-tinted the hand-tinted film.
Yeah.
What is your thought on colorizing silent movies when it's been tinted?
I think, well, the version I saw, it shifted between yellow and blue, to show us, the viewer. I don't know if your version was that too.
It did, yes.
Yeah. So it should show the viewer when was nighttime and when was daytime. So I think it makes sense, because when you're in black and white, you can't differentiate between day and night. And I think in a story like Dracula, it's important to be able to differentiate if it's
yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I'm actually going to ask, like, this isn't with Nosferatu, but, like, it's a similar question. What's your opinion on when they try to colorize black and white movies?
Oh, so you mean really colorize, not just like, tinting?
Yeah, but not like, for example, the 1920s Phantom of the Opera has an entire full color scene. But that was the director intended that. What about when they, like, try to recolor a black and white movie to make it appeal to a modern audience?
I think, nowadays, if it's the same thing like when nowadays filmmakers decide to make a movie black and white. If you decide that, it doesn't have to be just an aesthetic choice. I think it has to be planned, and it has to have a purpose,
Yes. No,
like, for example, the movie, what is it in English? Schindler's List,
yes.
That movie?
Yes, I know Schindler's
think
List.
This is a perfect example for using black and white in a good way, because the only color that is in the movie is red, and if you saw the movie, you know why.
Yeah, no, and that's quite effective.
Yeah, and the whole lighting depends also. If you want to shoot a movie in black and white, you have to light the set in a different way, and that's why I don't think it shouldn't. should be the other way around. Like, black and white movies shouldn't be colorized just to be appealing to modern day viewers.
Yeah. And they always end up looking oversaturated anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like it's only worth it when it's stuff like, like scenes where the director intended it to. For example, the Phantom of the Opera has a festival scene, and it's all a variety of colours, but the only one wearing red is the Phantom. And it's a really good way of signifying stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have any more thoughts on Nosferatu?
Not really another thought, but do you know the director Robert Eggers?
I might be familiar with the director.
He made the movies The Witch, The Lighthouse.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm familiar.
And soon Northman.
Never watched any of their movies, but I am familiar.
Okay, so he plans to do a remake of Nosferatu, and I think if somebody in Hollywood can make a remake, he's the right person.
Yeah, you need someone. It needs to be stylish.
Yeah, and there's those rumors that Count Orlok will be played by Robert Pattinson, which would be amazing.
That would be incredible.
Because I really like Robert Pattinson, but I don't like him in Twilight.
Yeah. I think this is a movie that's probably a bit difficult to remake. I mean, they've done it before, but like, especially nowadays, it's like you've got to have style. As I said,
yeah.
Like, it's like
that's why I say Robert Eggers should be able to make it, because The Witch is a great movie. The Lighthouse is an even better movie in my eyes. The Northman hasn't come out yet.
You have no comment on the Northman.
No.
Quickly, make a prediction. Make a prediction, Leon. Do you think it'll be good or bad?
I think it will be good. I saw the trailer and it looks amazing.
Yeah, so,
I mean, Viking horror. Did you ever see anything like Viking horror?
That does sound like a good idea, to be honest.
See?
Yeah. So, 100 years of this movie. Like, that is mad to think. Like, film is such a modern invention in the grand scheme of things, you know. Books have been around for as long as writing. Art has been around for as long as man. You know.
Just an interesting thought.
Yes.
I wonder when was the first time that somebody wrote a book for entertainment.
Oh, like the first. Oh, that is a. We'll have to
with
look
the
into
sole
that
purpose of entertainment. That's an interesting thing.
That is an interesting thought. We'll have to look into that sometime.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, like.
Okay, but go on.
100 years of this movie, like, completely mad. Like, I mean, Caligari had its 100th anniversary 2 years ago.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a bunch now, because like the 20s was, you know, I'd argue the 20s was when the film industry started getting going, you know.
Yeah.
I think it started like, you know, like the keys were in the ignition in the noughts and the teens, and they finally turned it, you know, in the 20s. In the 30s, they decided what would happen if you clicked the pedal. So we are going to be seeing a lot of 100th anniversaries over the next while. I mean, give it another 9 years. We're going to be seeing Dracula, the Bela Lugosi one. That's going to have its 100th anniversary, as is Karloff's Frankenstein.
It's weird how different things age. Like books, like Frankenstein, they don't seem as old as silent movies, you know?
I get you. And I almost wonder if that's because, like, with books,
they don't have this technical limitation.
That's exactly the point I was going to make. Like, the technology for writing has gotten easier, you know. Don't have to do it by hand or typewriter. We can backspace now. But with movies, it's an ever-changing concept. I think now we're at a very good point with movies, Like, I think now we're just at the point of, okay, let's try and blend practical and digital effects together and see how effective that looks.
Yeah, I think we went kind of a little bit too far because sometimes it's style over substance.
Yes.
So they just look good, but they lack the interesting story.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a practical effects whore. I love my CGI. Because, like, for example, Davy Jones in Pirates of the Caribbean. Fantastic use of CGI. Aged magnificently. But, like, I prefer practical effects. Like, I hate the fact that the MCU stopped using a full Iron Man suit and just CGI'd it.
Yeah.
That's really depressing to me. I like tangible stuff.
I mean, Willem Dafoe liked to put on the Green Goblin costume for the new Spider-Man.
God, did you see... Sorry, this is just when we're talking about facts. Did you see they were planning on in 2002, they were going to actually make it like a comic accurate, and they were going to use puppetry for the mouth? Before they realised how difficult that would have been.
Wait, for what?
For Green Goblin, instead of just having a metal mask, he was going to have a comic accurate one. And I almost wonder, would that have worked today? Because that if they did that today, they could have probably CGI'd up, the awkward bits.
Yeah,
but also the metal mask looks awesome, so who cares? Okay, is that? Are we wrapped? How are we rating Nosferatu? Because this is a movie that's difficult to rate.
I think movies that old are kind of out of a normal rating.
Yes.
So from today's standpoint, I wouldn't rate it as high as with all this cultural background and significance it carries. So for me, with that in mind, it would have been a 7, I think. Because I don't like it as much as Caligari. I really like Caligari.
Caligari is fantastic.
Caligari a 10 out of 10, even from a today's standpoint.
Yeah.
I think a solid 7.
I think 7/8 is where I'd go.
Okay.
I think it's great. As I said, it's not my favourite silent movie. I do prefer Phantom and Caligari.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's just a bloody good film. It's a good watch. It's interesting, and it's a movie that's just worth watching at least once, I'd say. And you get to see such a interesting, influential movie where, like, because it's a film that definitely has had an influence on, I'd say, like, post-70s horror is... It's hard to say it would have an influence on the early days because of it disappearing. But, like, you start to notice inspiration.
Yeah.
But yes. So, we've got a bit of an interesting plan for what's next.
We do.
So we're alternating films, but Leon has actually decided his next 3.
I did. And I don't know if I should I talk about them now or when we wrapped up recording them?
Just mention why now. So yeah, what are we doing for? I don't think it's gonna be the next immediate fray, but it'll be alternating.
Let's say we are watching my favorite trilogy in cinema.
Yes. The Ginger Dead Man trilogy.
Exactly.
No, genuinely not. I would be angry. We need drinks. Yeah, I'm excited for this upcoming set of film reviews.
Me too.
And all I'm saying is, it is the sequel to my favourite book of all time, which had a really bad film adaptation. God damn, it wasn't a great film adaptation. But anywho, enough of that. Thanks for watching, or listening, or, whatever horrible future things. I don't even want to imagine how you might have experienced this in the year 4000. I just don't want to know.
Yeah, probably like an I have no mouth but I must scream fashion. You're just a blob and have to exist and have to listen to all Atom Path episodes on repeat.
And you don't get to watch the movies we're talking about, so it's actually a form of torture.
Yeah.
Okay. I have been Claire.
And I'm still Leon.
Farewell.
Bye.